all this week. It's just supposed to keep on raining. And I live somewhere awesome, so I want to enjoy this 70-degree weather while I can. All right. Today, we're going to talk about how you can save money like a successful e-com business owner. What that looks like and how you keep living your life while you're saving money. So we're talking about savings accounts, both business and personal, right? So if you'd like a solid plan to safely grow your savings account, this training was for you. It's for you. Before I get started, I just want to say really quickly, I know that we're talking about savings accounts today, but we're also to cover paying down debt. Last week, we talked about paying down debt in a specific format. And if you want to really go into depth on that, look at last week. This isn't like a one or the other type of situation, both at the same time. Okay, let's dive in. So step one for saving money is that, well, you have to know how much you have come in. So you need to know from the beginning your post-tax income, okay? So after you pay taxes, how much money are you bringing in? And then out of that money, how are you spending it? What are you spending on the things that you need, the things that you want and like? Maybe in that process, you're going to find things where you don't want to pay for them anymore. And that's good. That's a good thing. But your focus right now is knowing exactly how much money you spend and where you spend it. And you cannot move on until you know all that. Okay. Step 2 is a no-go until you know what you're doing with your money already. Okay. So step 20 is implementing what's called the 50-20-30 rule. So basically 30 rule is a strategy for handling or managing your income. 50% for your needs, 20% for your savings or for paying down debt, and 30% for non-essentials. So your wants. Basically, the essentials are things like your rent or your mortgage, your business costs, your groceries, your gas. You have to have in order to work or in order to live, okay? And the savings and debt repayment is savings accounts. All of your retirement contributions, all of your loans, all of your credit card payments, all that stuff, okay? And the non-essential things like clothing or restaurants or Netflix or your gym membership. Okay, anything that makes life more fun. But it's not always easy by the 50-20-30 rule, okay? Just the truth. And when it's to your income and how you manage it, one size doesn't fit all. Just because I rule it, that doesn't mean it's going to work for you. For example, if you live in New York City, how much you spend on your rent or your mortgage, if you're that lucky, is going to be different than how much in the BFE. Like literally my neighbors are Amish. So, my property costs are going to be yours. My rent costs. And so keep that in mind. And if you run your own business, sometimes your income is going to be really irregular and it might be difficult or impossible even to keep a hard and fast rule about the 50% for your needs and 20% for savings and debt and 30% for your wants. Okay. So just keep that in mind. And I am outside. So if I freak out, it's because of the wasps. I've got to plant cement. Okay. But all right. What were we talking about? Irregular income. Okay, so if you find that this month you can do 50% on your needs, but next month it has to be more like 60%, that's okay, all right? But the idea is managing your income proactively and not letting things just happen. Because if you don't do that, all of your money will get spent and you will not have any savings. And and you will not pay down your debt. Okay. So we talked about prioritizing debt last week, especially prioritizing high interest debt. So you want to keep that strategy in mind, and specifically the amount of money that you have available to pay down that debt in that percentage when you're working this strategy for your savings. Okay. So I know that like you might be trying to build a financial cushion with your savings. Sometimes that's specifically an emergency fund. Sometimes that is saving for retirement, or it's paying off debts specifically. Whatever your goals are, you can meet them. And the more you manage your money, the more capable of meeting those goals you're going to become. Okay. If you don't manage it, you're not going to grow. Manage it and appreciate the money that you have and watch it grow. Okay. So if you're having trouble with distinguishing between needs and wants, like I said, groceries is a need and restaurants are a want. But you should know that needs and wants vary from one person to another. So to me, restaurants are a want because I can cook and my husband can cook, and we just like going to restaurants. We don't have to go to them. But if you are in a place where you literally cannot cook your own food because you don't have an oven or a stovetop, then restaurants are no longer a want. They're essential because you have to eat something. I guess the argument could be made that it's still non-essential because you could always eat cold food or raw food, but like oranges and cucumbers and whatever. But that is not what people normally do. So anyway, regardless, the point is that essentials and wants are different person to person, and that's okay. But the rule is if it is essential to life, then it is a need. There's a wasp. And if it's not essential to life, then it's a want. And right now, I think Hornet spray is an essential in my income, in my expenses. Ugh. You just go on. Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. So the last step is to specifically consider your business savings. If you don't have business savings, you need to start. Okay. So from the beginning, what you need is to make sure that you are setting aside money for your taxes. You know that. But there's more than that. So you should save at least 10% of the profits you're making every month and have up to 6 months worth of operating expenses in your business emergency fund. Okay. So this is about knowing what your business needs and how your business runs month in and month out. So if you have a really seasonal business, for example, landscaping is very seasonal. Some e-commerce can be very seasonal if you are really heavily into seasonal products. So, and in general, people buy a lot more in fourth quarter for e-commerce, and that's understandable, right? But you have to plan for it, okay? You are not going to make as much money in e-commerce in January, February, and March as you did in October, November, and December. That's the way it works, okay? So what you do is you plan for that ahead of time. And you also want to make sure that you have enough funds in your savings accounts to cover passive sales months when your revenue is low unexpectedly, right? So you ask yourself 2 questions when you're determining your business savings. The first one is, how much cash do you have to have on hand each month? And if you have expenses for your business that only occur a couple times a year, then you need to make sure you're including that in your savings plan, right? Okay. So you look at your savings, your cash flow from your previous month, and that's specifically your funds coming in versus your expenses, right? So you look at how that flows and help you to see the significant expenses that are in your essentials category. How much are you spending every month that you have to keep continuing to spend? You can't cancel, right? And then you consider any additional future costs Like if you know in 6 months that you're going to a conference and you have to buy that in 3 months, if you know you're going to have additional advertising fees, whatever, then that's your spending forecast. And you need to see that to be able to see how much you can afford to stash into your savings without hindering your business operations. So, number one, this tells you how much you can save without hurting your business. And it tells you how much you need to save to keep operating your business if you don't have enough revenue coming in, right? Okay. Now, the second important question to ask yourself is, what stage of business am I in right now? Am I still a startup? Am I in a growth phase? Or am I in an established business at this point that has seen consistent profits for years? So if you're in a growth phase, then you need to consider the funds that you'll need to continue fueling growth, right? So in this case, it might not be practical to reserve all the incoming cash, and it might be more sensible to keep investing those profits in your growth. A lot of people talk about investing all of your profits for the first year you're in business, specifically in e-commerce, okay? And if that's something you need to do, then savings are going to be a little bit different for you, and it might not even be the right time for you. Okay, it just depends on exactly what your plan is for your growth. On the other hand, if you are an established business, then you're going to have less uncertainty to face, right? And you can put away more money into your savings or towards debt. Like if you've taken a big loan for your inventory, you want to pay that off quickly so that it doesn't hurt your business in the long term. So, okay. Hopefully you can see that the 50-20-30 rule can benefit your business, even if you have high interest debts to pay down. And even if you want to keep enjoying your life, which is the reason you started your business, right? So that you could have a better life. One that hopefully has less wasps in it than mine. Okay. So you can save for the future, live for today, enjoy your present moment with your family, and pay down debts when you have a strong understanding of your cash flow and you put a plan into place. And if your business finances have grown increasingly complicated and you're not sure if you or your team are managing things correctly, then it might be time to consider working with a bookkeeper. But if you don't currently have a team to support you in this, or you're not receiving the right kind or enough support, and if you're looking at this and saying, I have no idea what my cash flow is, and I need help with that, then you want to comment below, tell me more, and we'll reach out to you, okay? Also, if you know a business friend who needs to hear this information, who needs a strategy, then please share this video with them or tag them below. All right, thanks, guys. I will be back next week, probably inside, away from the wasps. So if you have any questions, please leave them below, and I'll be sure